This is the Simpit. I'm your host, Sean Cole, and welcome to the Pit Stop, where you are the real star of today's show, because we're here to talk about today's sim racing news, and we are kicking off a new year. And if you didn't join us yesterday, where I kind of did an impromptu pit stop, and I don't think many people expected it because yesterday was a holiday, but I guess we are officially kicking off 2018. So happy New Year's to everybody. And I think today's the day that everybody's back at work, getting back into the normal groove. And if you're a sim racer, you're getting ready for this year's sim racing. And I think we're expecting quite a lot in 2018. And 2017, I'll say it was a record-setting year. We had so many things come out, so many new innovations, so much going on in sim racing. And I think we're just going to see a continuation and even more so an accelerated pace of it this year. So maybe not so much on the game releases, because we just saw Forza, Gran Turismo, Project Cars, the works all come out. So we're not going to see that cycle for a little while. So it'll probably be a little bit more on the hardware side, the DLC side, and the modding side, compared to all the big companies coming out with the software releases this year. So let's talk about what's going on in sim racing. And one of the things that makes you guys a star of the show is a lot of these stories have come from you guys. So some of you bring them up during the chat, during the show, and I appreciate that. We'll always go search for those stories. Sometimes you guys email me. My email is Sean, S-H-A-U-N, @thesimpit.com. And I am always looking for stories, and, you know, you want to be an elevated level of the pit crew. Help us out in making the show even better. And sending me things that you think I might not know about going on in sim racing is going to be a big, big help or start or get things going for the pit stop. So anyway, today's news, starting off with Reiza. Usually they're towards the back of the news, but it was a quiet day from our big sim manufacturers today. But at Reiza, they announced their time trial week schedule. So they got 3 different competitions going on. 6 different competitions going on. So you can run Stock Car, the F Ultimate, the MCR, the F3, the Kart GX 390, or the F Truck at various different competitions. So, again, if you're just looking for that, you know, the nice thing about time trial or hot lap competitions is it's really on you. You don't have to work around, you know, time restraints and join a league and get practice. It's just something, it's like a ladder system. You go and you see. It's sort of like when the world's fastest gamer competition was going on. I knew I had no chance of making the top 10, but it was a great leaderboard. It was a great way to post a time and see where I stand against the open world in a various disciplines. So Reiza's got that going on for Automobilista, and, you know, Automobilista is sort of at its peak right now with that 1.5 release coming out fairly recently. So I agree, Tom. Hot lapping competitions are fun. They're very easy to get involved in. It doesn't matter which sim. Nobody sees you do it. You just get your name up on the board and you get to know what's going on. So beyond that, a lot of you guys were expecting big direct drive news today. I don't have direct drive news other than on the Fanatec community page, there was a post today wishing everyone a Happy New Year, and they said everyone's waiting for the DD wheel, which they expect in the next months. They didn't say couple months, they didn't say few months, they didn't say 6 months, but they did say months, plural. So we know it's at least 2 months till we're going to be seeing anything about the Podium DD wheelbase, but that is news. The other thing is they have a competition coming up, so they are going to have a painting competition designing a McLaren 650S GT3 and a Porsche 911 Cup livery in full Fanatec design. The winning liveries will be featured in Race Room Experience, and it's going to be for anybody to be able to use. So this is a cool competition. Stan, get out there and paint some cars. Anybody with some painting talent should look into doing this, but submit your livery by January 14th. No more than 4 images need to be posted. Fanatec logo and the F signet, as they call it, can be downloaded in the download section of their site. And yeah, anyway, if you want to get honored, I mean, that's pretty cool when you get your paint scheme into a game and everybody who's going to get the game is going to be able to run in that as well. So, quite an honor that would be. Yeah, it's a fun, John. It's a fine line between watching the chat and paying attention. Trying to run that fine line. Hey, Andre, at least you made it. Better late than never. Yeah, Daniel, that's interesting. How many laps? I guess that's a factor. I guess somebody who does it in 10 laps want to know they beat you if you spent 100 laps. Yeah, the thing with the Alex iRacing time trials, they're awesome as far as the competition's all laid out. I think the problem is that there's not much recognition that goes along with being it. There's nothing that, and this is one of the things that I think is actually a downside of iRacing, is that they do a very poor job of publicizing people's accomplishments in the sim. And you look at other sims and leagues that you can get involved in, and maybe it's very easy to see your name in the paper, so to speak, or on the homepage of the website because you had a good run. In iRacing, you could win 20 races and nobody in the world but you would know. So that's a little too bad about that. But yeah, another variation of a hot lap. But again, being able to run it on your own, I think, is kind of the key between a time trial or a hot lap competition, is that you don't have to join the official race. So, speaking of racing and things going on, DES Simulations, they've sent me a few stories recently of products they have coming out, and they are definitely making a big, big push. Ah, clickbait. Give me a break. I had an update. Months. We know it's months out, Steve. But DES is sponsoring the 2K World Cup 2018 in iRacing. So that's going to be the Skippy, I believe. And there's going to be, here's the schedule that's going on for it, and then some prizes as well. So you're going to have $100 going to the winner, second place $50, all the way down to some credits, down paying out to 10th place. So go to DES Simulations, check that out. Another competition for you to get involved in. Eurogamers had their top 50 games of 2017. And in a year where we saw Gran Turismo, Forza, Project Cars, F1 2017. We saw so many games come out this year in sim racing, in gaming, motorsport gaming. And when we look at the top 50 list, and I don't know if I'll make it all the way to the bottom, and it's not updating at this point, there's only one sim racing game. Forza Motorsport 7, number 25 on the list. I guess Mario Kart at 24 on the list. Gran Turismo, 21 on the list. But what we're not seeing is any kind of dominance by sim racing. When you consider all of our big games came out this year, I'd like to think it would be cool to see sim racing beating some of these games. I mean, I don't know anything about Hellblade, or Cuphead, or Prey. I do know Wolfenstein. Assassin's Creed and Resident Evil should be pretty hard to beat based on how big their following is. But, you know, sim racing, we are represented in the list, but not nearly the dominant force. You think of Gran Turismo years past, and it can be a number one. It was one of those console, see, Max even agrees. Gran Turismo used to be the reason to buy a PlayStation over an Xbox, and I think they might have lost a little of that luster and handed the reins over to other type games, and you really need to look at the ones that are exclusive, like Halo to the Xbox. They're going to be those console selling titles. Anyway, that's Eurogamer's top 50 list. You can check it out. If you're a general gamer, you're going to want to see some of the games that maybe you haven't bought that you might want to pick up because they come highly rated. Next thing, a game called Gravel. I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. They've got a new trailer coming out, their Gravel career trailer. I think we actually played this a while ago. This is coming out in February, I believe, is the date that it is coming out. So it should be a fun game. There are a lot of games that we play like this, whether you're talking Forza Horizon or The Crew or Need for Speed. But instead of taking everything so seriously in the world of sim racing, and I think that's one of the big differences between sim racing and, say, normal gaming, is sim racing by nature is fairly serious, and gaming by nature is playing games. And I think that is a big obstacle or hurdle or a big difference, and maybe even a level of eliteness that we put upon our hobby that maybe we should kind of take away a little bit and take it a little less seriously to make it a little bit more easy for others to get involved. So, but anyway, this is a game that we'll be looking forward to just in terms of the getting out, having fun, like a rec fest, kind of things like that. So, pretty cool. Sim Racing Observer. This is a website out there, and they've been pushing these ranking systems. We've been talking about it, various different forms, the Project Cars Power Rankings, Esport Power Rankings. But these guys are working on grabbing all that data. And in the beginning, who knows how perfect it'll be. In the beginning, maybe they'll need some adjustments, some input from us, giving them opinion on where they need to put more weight or basis. But these guys right now, they are really working on, the first one is an iRankings, which is going to be very specific to iRacing. They've got their Sim Racing Rankings, top 100 drivers of 2017. So if you want to go through this list, this is again at simracingobserver.com. But if you want to see who the best of the best in sim racing is, this is their list. And I'm not going to argue with their list. I'm going to leave that for you guys. They have Martin Kroenke as the number 1 from VRS, the world champion in iRacing. 2 or 3-time world champion now. Frederick Rasmussen from Core Sim Racing, number 2. Mitchell de Jong in number 3. That's a little bit of a surprise to me right there. Mitchell's having a great season, both in real life, rallycross, and in the sim. I don't know about a number 3, no offense, and I know Mitchell very well, so he's a good friend of mine. But at the same time, I don't know about number 3, Bono Hui. Number 4, there's Freck Schothorst. And number 5, where's Gregor Hutu? Gregor Hutu, talk about falling from grace. Gregor Hutu all the way back to 11th place, which, I don't know. Let's get inside the mindset of the head of Gregor Hutu. I wonder how he feels. But Gregor's been doing this a long time. And to be sitting on top for as many years as he did, you would have to expect eventually the young guns. And, you know, Martin's not even one of the young guns. He's been doing it forever as well. But anyway, check that out at Sim Racing Rankings. They also recently mentioned this a while ago, but they had their top 50 teams, which might be just a little bit harder to do accurately, bringing the whole team mentality into it. I didn't even know we could rank 50 teams, to be honest with you. VRS being number 1, I think that's well-deserved. Excuse me. Core Racing, Pure Racing, Redline in 4th place. That again, and not to be too much of a fanboy of Gregor Hutu and Team Redline, but it's kind of hard to imagine that lineup of drivers being only number 4 in the world when it comes to team sport. But I haven't looked into their criteria, but I like, and we talked about this just recently, I like the idea that we're going to have this, and I'm going to give them a pat on the back for getting it going, and maybe with more and more input from the community, the list can become more prestigious and more accurate. Sean, for your controller, race 2 might be fun 170 motorcycles. I don't know what you're talking about, puppies. Hi, Max. So, okay, next story. Sorry about that. I got distracted by my dog. Next topic. What was this one? Oh, this is interesting. This is an Explore. And we often talk about changing of times. We talk about fads. We talk about things that might be here forever. The impact they have on our industry. Fantasy auto racing, fantasy sports has been huge forever. Oh, Ride 2 on a motorcycle. Gotcha. Max, hey, give it a rest, buddy. Max. Oh, the gardeners are here. That's what it is. All right, well, we're almost We're almost to the end of the show, so we'll bring this to a close and give that dog some relief. Anyway, news on the Fanatec DD is it's coming in the next coming months. Posick. They didn't say several. They didn't say a couple. They didn't say 6 months. They said in the next months. So I think it is coming within 2 to 3 months is my guess. But Yahoo Sports has suspended their fantasy auto racing. And not that this has much to do with us. I've had a lot of fun doing some fantasy auto racing. And my feeling or thoughts on fantasy stuff is the draft day is always so much fun. Bidding on drivers and going through that whole thing. And then it just sort of loses its fun for me going down the stretch. I think other sports are maybe a little more entertaining than racing. for fantasy sports. But this is a sign of the changing of the times. No, Tom, cats don't bark, but when you come home, cats sometimes don't care either. My dog always cares what I'm doing. So that's the difference. I love dogs, I love cats, but they are distinctly different animals, and they both have their pros and cons, or they're good and not so good, as I like to say. But anyway, just the thought, NASCAR.com will still be doing their fantasy racing for this year. I don't know if many of you guys do Formula One fantasy kind of stuff, but it is kind of just showing you that maybe this is something that's run its course. Maybe fantasy sports have sort of gone full circle and to the point where they're about done. So I just thought that was an interesting side tip, and thank you, the man, for sending that in. And then beyond that, Need for Speed Payback. Results on their first week sales came in. So the game just came out. 462,000 units were sold in their first retail week, which is pretty good. I mean, I'm sure they'd like to see 1 million sales. That dog, he just hates those gardeners. Anyway, the other interesting thing, if you think about it, is to break it down in where the items were sold. So here's a generic motorsport gaming title. I'm not going to call it a sim. And on the PlayStation 4, they sold 349, almost 350,000 units, 76% of the total sales, compared to 106,000 units on the Xbox One, which is 23%. And here's the big one, and I guess for this title you'd expect it, but only 6,420 units were sold on the PC version, which represents only 1% of the market of that game. When we are talking about a Project Cars 2, an F1 2017, any of the true multi-platform titles, and I say true because they were always intended that way. Assetto Corsa's available on them, but they led with the PC. But unfortunately, we are only 1%. The PC, you know, when we look at what we do, if you're iRacing or Assetto Corsa racing on the PC or Race Room or any Automobilista, and I'm not trying to leave any out, but when we're racing on the PC, you need to realize we might only be 1% of the total volume of motorsport gamers out there, and that the other 99% are basically playing on the Xbox and the PlayStation. So when you think about our crowd size, you almost have to multiply it by that kind of an amount. Here in America, the 1%, we talk about people getting the massive tax breaks. I don't want to get political on you, but this was given to the 1%, people we may never know. And in the world of sim racing, you know, these guys playing Need for Speed, they might not even know who we 1% are, these guys playing the hardcore version of it on the PC. But I think it's very interesting to see the split, number one, between the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. Looks like PlayStation is just really killing it. And then obviously, you know, on the PC being down to 1. New Year's resolutions. We talked about it. I'm going to give Ray Alfala credit. Ray Alfala did a post on Facebook. I don't have it here, and I don't think Ray is watching the show, but he said his New Year's resolution was 1920 by 1080. But I thought that was very good. Well done, Ray. So anyway, that is going to do it for today's news. That's everything I have on my plate. Let you know what's going on. We do have our McLaren series starting up on Thursday and Friday nights. Come out and join us on Sim Racing Systems. Tomorrow night we will do our Wednesday night practice. That'll be tomorrow night. I will probably do a preseason practice tonight. Not sure if I'm going to stream it or not, but that's in the works as well. Beyond that, Mitchie Hoyer is going to be back on the air with us here in just a little bit. He's going to be doing an R Factor 2. I'm sorry. He's doing a setup, guide, and race video for the Formula Renault 2.0 on iRacing. And he's going to have a slightly different format than normal, so you're going to want to check out exactly what he's doing and how he's approaching that. And we're going to have that coming up. You can stay tuned on Discord or look for the notice on YouTube. But that will be coming up as well. So that is going to do it. That's going to do it for today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for being part of the show. Thank you for being part of the pit crew. We will be back tomorrow morning with another edition of the Pit Stop and sim racing news, and then move on to all that great stuff. We have a few edited pieces in the works behind the scenes as well. So a lot going on here for 2018. Hopefully we're going to keep the videos coming and keep sim racing growing. This is the Simpit. I'm Sean Cole, and I'll see you on the track.